Hey y'all, this is Angela Neal, and I am here to talk to y'all about hashtag appeal Tiger Mandingo. So, for those of you who don't know, Tiger Mandingo is the online moniker of Michael L. Johnson, an Indiana native who went to Lindenwood University in Missouri, and unbeknownst to several of his sexual partners with whom he had bareback sex, he was infecting them or exposing them to HIV. He has been accused of 2 counts of recklessly infecting someone with HIV, 1 count of recklessly attempting to expose someone to recklessly attempting to infect someone with HIV, and 3 counts of recklessly exposing someone to HIV. One of those counts of infecting a person was thrown out of court because that was tacked onto the case too late, but he was definitely convicted of the other 5 charges. He could face anywhere from 30 years, 60 years to a lifetime sentence in jail for this. And this is a complicated case, and I think it's a complicated case for a lot of reasons. This person lives at the intersections of being black, of being gay, of being HIV positive, of being poor, and of being simple. And so I want to explore this case and explain to you why I think it's problematic. First and foremost, let's say this. The best way to maintain a clear STI panel is not to have sex. If you decide that you're going to have sex, protect yourself. And by protect yourself, most people are saying use condoms. I'm not saying use condoms. I'm saying use condoms and learn about STIs. Learn about the changes and the growth in the health community, because a lot of the propaganda spouted in this trial is inaccurate as of like 10 years ago. And people don't know how much HIV has changed since, it was discovered in the early 80s. Okay, so Michael L. Johnson is from Indiana. He came out to his mother at a super early age, and she wasn't ready to deal with it, and so he closeted himself. He dated girls in high school, but he also entered the ball culture in Indiana. Ball culture is where voguing comes from. It's intersections of being black and gay and urban, and people kind of synthesizing these things together. It was the first place where he felt an ease of being around people who were gay and who accepted him on that aspect, as well as being black. Had a girlfriend in high school. He ended up signing the birth certificate for her child, which is really awkward because the child is white. Michael recognized that this girl could not be, this child could not be his, but growing up without a father, he felt that it was really important that this child have a father on his birth certificate. I don't think that he has any custodial rights, but this is me speaking a little bit to his state of mind. He started off in high school, in school he was an avid sportsman. He played lots of sports and settled into wrestling because he felt like wrestling gave him a real sense of accountability. When a team fails, you can point fingers at different people, but when you fail on the wrestling mat, it's either you or the other person. So he really liked wrestling, used that and won championships in Indiana, then won a championship in Illinois at a junior college, and then he got recruited to go to Lindenwood University in St. Charles, Missouri. In St. Charles, while wrestling, somewhere along the line, he started wearing a tiger shirt, which became his nickname. One of his teammates added the name Mandingo to it, and that became his moniker, Tiger Mandingo. And Tiger Mandingo, you can still search on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, even MySpace. And that's how he went about being known. So for those who don't know, Mandingo were a tribe of Africans who were frequently brought over during the slave trade. Also, Mandingo is used to describe a black man's penis, which is large. It speaks to the hypersexuality of black people as well as the savagery of black people's sex. It's, I don't know how a tribe starts to describe a people's sexuality or how we think of a people, but that's what happened. There's also a movie from the 70s called Mandingo, and Mandingo is about a slave owner who buys a slave named Mead. Mead is a fighting slave. He's great stock, and Mead wins these fights. He's befriended his master who purchased him, and then for whatever reason, the master was also sleeping with some of his other slaves, which made his wife jealous, and so the wife blackmailed Mead into sleeping with her, saying that if he didn't sleep with her, she would cry rape. And so he did. And when their biracial child was born, the master killed the child, killed the wife, forced Mead to jump into a boiling pot of water, made a soup out of him, and poured him over his dead wife's grave. Mandingo. This is the history of that word in the States. So, Tiger Mandingo has self-identified as gay. He stopped dating women. He is at Lindenwood. Apparently in January 2013, he was run across by a young man by the name of Dylan King Lemons. Dylan King Lemons' profile says that he is mostly into white guys, but he likes black guys. He saw Tiger's profile and said, you know, Tiger was gorgeous, had great legs, and was well endowed. And so he went over and he met him later that month. Tiger said, Tiger and Michael, I'm going to use those interchangeably. Get over it. Tiger said that he was clean, and so Lemons gave him a blowjob. Tiger attempted to go out with him, to actually go on a date with him, but according to Lemons, he had gotten busy and he just didn't have time for that. Okay, so in October, which was the next time they hooked up, Tiger again said he was clean, and Lemons bent over and bottomed for him without a condom, and Tiger proceeded to come in his ass, and Lemons consented to that as well, because Tiger was huge. He was only the third black guy he'd been with, and he was clean. Well, also, Lemons confided that he barebacked with friends and with exes, only people he trusted, because he wouldn't just do that with anybody, except for the times when he did do it with strangers, because it was okay with the strangers because he knew they were clean, because he could tell by looking at them, like he could with Tiger, which means that you can't look at people and tell if they're HIV positive. So Tiger, after that point in October, called him and told him, you know, I have a disease. And Lemons asked, well, does it have a cure? And Tiger said, I don't know. And Lemons proceeded to get angry, and then Tiger got angry, and then he hung up the phone. It seems that Tiger took video of a bunch of people that he slept with in his dorm room. There are 32 videos, two of which show him using a condom, none of which, from what I understand, showed him disclosing to his partners. I don't know the legality of taking videos of people unbeknownst to them. I know that there's something wrong with distributing them, like revenge porn. That's a problem, but I don't know if possessing them is a problem, unless they're underage, in which case it's a kiddie porn thing. The state wanted to use that evidence, that there were a lot of people who would not testify, who would not come forward, who would not be public accusers, more than the 6 who were willing to take the stand. Yeah, so that's Dylan. Here's the issue that I have with this. There are 4 points of problematicism as far as communities go. So right now I'm going to talk about the accusers. If you have sex with someone and they tell you that they're negative, that does not give you purchase to bareback, because that's not an indication of being negative. Test results are only as accurate as 6 weeks before they were taken. So if you have sex with someone a month after their last test, then that means that 10 weeks before that test, they were negative. And that 10 weeks in between, anything could have happened. If someone tells you that they're negative, use a condom. If you decide not to use a condom, that's on you, whether they lie or not, because you're the only person who can be responsible for your health. Just like you're the only person who's responsible for your happiness. You have to take these things into control. You have to say, you know what, this is important to me. I'm going to not catch HIV by doing X, Y, and Z. Having said that, condoms aren't 100%. Okay, cool. protecting yourself is only partly about using condoms. The other part is about understanding where we are with HIV. The reality of it is that a person who is in care, and in care is a term that's used for people who are on antiretroviral medications. A little history. When HIV first came about, they found a medication called AZT, which people could take to suppress the virus. The problem was that AZT was also highly toxic. So if you weren't dying from HIV, you were dying from the meds. Somewhere in the mid-2000s, they came up with the antiretroviral drugs, which suppress the virus with minimal side effects. And so people are much healthier and living whole lives and not impacted by HIV beyond needing to take anywhere from 1 to 3 pills a day, all at once, which is, less painful than being diabetic, having to test your insulin. They're not the same thing because diabetes is not communicable. I recognize this. I'm saying quality of life doesn't suffer from taking 1 to 3 pills a day. That's all I'm saying. People who are in care and keep adherence, 90% adherence. So 90% adherence looks like if you miss 2 doses in the course of a month, you're still at 90% adherence, and not very likely, you're still undetectable. Undetectable means that per drop of blood, there's only so many copies of the virus, and because there's so little virus in your system, you can't communicate this virus to other people, and I believe that's up to 95%. So with a person who is HIV positive and in care, there's a 5% chance that you can get HIV from them, which is negligible, which is significantly less than a person who is not in care, because the likelihood is there's pretty much like an 80% chance that you'll get it from a person who's not in care. So knowing these things, having this terminology in your back pocket and understanding them and how the virus works and how to protect oneself. Oh, another thing to protect oneself, Truvada. Truvada is a drug in some antiretroviral cocktails. Truvada acts as a shield for negative people, and that protects up to 93%, assuming that you keep 90% adherence. So if you take your meds every day, if you skip twice, maybe a month, but if you take your meds every day, you have a shield that is almost comparable to using a condom every time. So these are 2 ways that you can protect yourself actively, and 1 way you can check in with your partner to see if he's protecting himself. So when I say protect yourself, it's not just condoms. It's about knowledge. It's about understanding how things are communicated. This gentleman, Dylan King Lemons, said that he could see if people were HIV positive. And he trusted them. Like, I trust you, but I can see that you're not HIV positive. Clearly, these things don't match. They don't mesh. That doesn't make sense. And if he knew more, he could have made some different choices. Lemon's mother said at the hearing that her son's diagnosis was a life sentence without parole. Why should Johnson get anything different? And I'm like, this is, again, someone who doesn't understand how HIV works in this new millennium. Her son's going to live a full and healthy life, assuming that he gets in care. And if Johnson had gotten into care, we probably wouldn't be having this conversation. No one would have gotten infected with HIV, and because no one would have gotten infected with HIV, no one would have known. And I'm not saying that we shouldn't talk about our sexual histories and our past. That's 100% important, particularly to not stigmatizing STDs and STIs and having had them, or having them currently. But the reality of it is that Johnson wasn't in care, and so he spread it to someone else. But if this person gets in care, he can live a full life, and it's not going to affect anyone or anything adversely other than the stigma. Okay, so partners. Second thing is the school. Michael L. Johnson is barely literate. he is of a simple mind. They assigned a graduate assistant to him, and this graduate assistant's job is to help Michael take care of business for school, because if Michael were to go and do things on his own, they would not be resolved. And this is according to one of his teammates. And his teammate said that Michael was a nice enough guy, but he clearly didn't fit. When asked why he didn't fit, it was because he took the bus everywhere. He just couldn't fathom that this kid didn't have a car. Why wouldn't you have a car? That's just crazy. When he first got to the team, some of the teammates lamented that Michael was getting all the girls because he was super congenial. But he was gay, so he wasn't really sleeping with them. However, he was, when they found out that he was gay, they said he wasn't shunned, but there was one teammate who refused to spar with him, and no one was volunteering to spar with him. He already stuck out as the only black guy on the team, but now he's the black gay guy, and people didn't want to deal with him anyway. The same teammate went on to say, why do people around the poverty line choose to infect one another with this disease? Which was really interesting to me, because it really sounded like, why do those people? Which, you know, if we switch, why do people around the poverty line to those people, it can mean race, it could mean class, it can mean gay, it can just mean HIV positive. Or people who aren't that bright. I reiterate, this man really sweetly wanted to be a father to a child that doesn't belong to him. He still wants to be a professional wrestler, or maybe go to the Olympics. When asked how he got to college by his defense attorney, he responded, the bus. Because he didn't understand the question. Like, this person got through high school with a diploma and got an associate's degree with a diploma, and they were willing to pass this person again with a degree while not giving him the skills that he's supposed to have as a college graduate. They were just going to give him a diploma because they wanted him to bring them some acclaim as an athlete. Now, Lindenwood University, which I like to call SHAMU, its graduate program is 658. There are only 684 graduate programs in this country. Its graduate program is 658. The school accepts 66% of its applicants. That means that if you randomly fall in the bottom third of applicants, you won't get in, because they accept 2/3 of applicants. And of the 66% who make it into the school, only 23% matriculate. Only 23% graduate. That's ridiculous. That is unseemly. The only place where they shine is their Division II NCAA athletics. And so they were willing to use this boy to pimp him to get the acclaim that they needed. The school is also touts very high Judeo-Christian values and has a strong connection to the Presbyterian Church. Consequently, the school does not offer condoms or conversations about safer sex, or sex ed, or sexuality, or homosexuality in general. Up until recently, as far back as 2010, they wouldn't allow a gay-straight alliance on campus. The organization had to go by the Spectrum Alliance. Now it says that it's the Gay-Straight Alliance, but that's an unofficial, informal name. So their decision on this is to put all of the onus onto Michael. Michael made some mistakes. I'm not saying he didn't make some mistakes, but they're putting it all on him. But they have a campus where sex isn't spoken about, and condoms aren't made available. In a university, condoms aren't made available. Do you know that half of the people who are HIV positive between 18 and 24, according to the CDC, didn't know that they were HIV positive? That's the time frame of the undergraduate college career. 18 and 24, half people, when they got tested, didn't know they were positive. Wow. And this is a space where we're not talking about condoms. This is a space where condoms aren't available. An organization in St. Louis where one of the accusers got tested, offered to come to campus to test people. No one got back to that organization. However, they did bring to light a young man. His name is Brian Jackson. Brian Jackson, as an infant, his father didn't want to deal with child support, so he infected him with HIV. His father got a life sentence for that. When Brian was 5, he accelerated to AIDS and lost his hearing. And now he speaks on these issues. He offered to come to Lindenwood, and he spoke, and he is a champion of abstinence for himself. He's like, I'm going to abstain until I find the person that I want to be with for the rest of my life. Good on you, buddy. He also acknowledges that most people aren't going to do that, but if you are going to have sex, use condoms. Protect yourself. That's what he says. He was very taken aback when he found out that the university doesn't offer condoms. That even after his speech, the university still does not offer condoms. Although they said that they do offer HIV tests, which I think is really interesting because condoms, compared to HIV tests on campus, condoms are really inexpensive. So I feel that if HIV tests are expensive and condoms are inexpensive, and they're not offering condoms still at the university, they're not offering any HIV tests. That's not true. I don't even know why anyone would tell that bold-faced lie. And so the university, in its way, has abrogated itself of accountability because they brought this person onto campus, they supported him, they were willing to use him to the best of their ability, and then as soon as the tide changed slightly, they ran and said that he is a problem and he's a predator and this, that, and the third. And like, the man's not a predator, he's a gay guy trying to hook up. And if you're a gay guy who's ever tried to hook up, you know it's not that. It's not that. Another point of contention is that the Lindenwood University community is really shitty about this. I spoke a little about his teammate, who's like those people, but there were a lot of interviews conducted by BuzzFeed where they would talk to people about it, and they're like, the really shitty part about this is that I see a cute girl, and then I have to wonder if she's been with him, or if she's been with someone who's been with him. And like, he's just ruined it for all of us. And like, people cheering. And it's just like, I don't know if you know this, but HIV was a problem before Michael Johnson came to Lindenwood. It was a problem, it's a problem all over the world. Lindenwood was not exempt. I'm more than certain that beyond the accusers and Michael Johnson, that there are other HIV positive on Lindenwood University's campus. I'm certain of it. There are of 1.2 million Americans are HIV positive. 1 in 7 Americans who are HIV positive doesn't know. That means that 171,000 people in this country don't know they have HIV. So just 171,000 people in this country don't know they have HIV. This is always a problem. It's always going to be a problem until we get people in care. And that's what it is. So this is where we come to the criminalization of HIV. Here's the problem. If you don't know that you are HIV positive and you spread HIV, you're less culpable than a person who does know. There might be evidence that he knew as early as 2011 that he was positive. But again, really simple man signed this legal document saying, I recognize that I am positive. Not really realizing that this is a legal document that he's signing at a doctor's office. Saying like, oh, he's not bright. He's not bright. He doesn't know that he was making himself accountable for these choices that he was making. I don't think he really understands what HIV means. But the flip side of not understanding what HIV means is that most gay men don't understand what HIV means. Most gay men that I encounter having conversations with people think that the best way to avoid HIV is to avoid people who have HIV. And that's not the case. People who are not in care are the people who are transmitting HIV. And by that I mean, you're more likely to gain HIV from a person who thinks that they're negative than a person who knows that they're positive and is in care. Because studies have also shown that people who are in care, keeping 90% adherence, can't transmit the virus. A pill every day makes the person not able to transmit the virus. But this person who says that he's negative, who 6 weeks prior to his STI test said it was negative, that means there was 6 weeks before the time that you asked, the time before that test, plus the time since that test. So if I say that I'm negative and it's been a month since my last test, that's 10 weeks. If I say that I'm negative and it's been 2 months, well, that is, I can count, I promise, 14 weeks. But what if the test was a year ago, 6 months ago, 4 years ago? The time in between lapses. If you want to remain HIV negative, use a condom every time and know what these terms mean. Know what these terms mean to you. You know, you could get on Truvada. If taking loads is important to you, get on Truvada. Just do it. And then you're going to drastically mitigate your risks. And have honest conversations like, oh, you're positive. Are you in care? Are you on meds? Are you undetectable? Sure, yes. And learn some of the terminology, because some people will say, I'm positive, but I'm undetectable. Oh, what medications are you on? If they can't list the medications that they're on, then they're not undetectable. Learn to have these conversations so that you can protect yourself to the best of your ability. The criminalization of HIV makes it so that it's easier not to know your status than to learn your status. And that's kind of crazy to me. In the context of Lindenwood, you know, it created a culture of deviancy around procuring condoms, around going to get tested. And apparently it's acceptable because for the most part it seems like the school is co-signed on this, that Michael Johnson was a predator and he's a horrible person. And I think we need to change the way this conversation goes. You know, black people are more likely to be indicted, prosecuted, found guilty, and sentenced harder than white people in HIV criminalization cases. And black men who have sex with men, black people and men who have sex with men are two highest rates of HIV infection in this country. When those two intersect, it becomes a fucking shitstorm. And these are the people who are most likely to receive these sentences that are kind of crazy, because, you know, a person decided not to be accountable for their own health, to be responsible for their own health. This person may go to jail for life. 30, 60 years or life. Okay, cool, great. And I'm not saying he was right, 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 but I'm saying that he's not the only person who was accountable here. The fourth group that I forgot to speak about were the police, because the police waited more than 4 months to go and talk to this man or arrest him. Dylan King Lemons went to them and they didn't go to him for 4 months. They didn't address it for 4 months, and they said, you know, with the sensitivity of this issue and I mean, I get that there have to be other complaining witnesses, but you know, the reality of it is that the ease with which this case could have been like taken care of with him is that, you know, they could have drawn some of Lemon's blood and drawn some of Johnson's blood, and it would have been easy to figure out if the HIV came from the same place. Because if they're the same strain, then they got it from one another. Okay, if they got it from one another, cool. The issue is that apparently in this time, he infected another person. So the police aren't accountable, and the school's not accountable, and no one in the Lindenwood community is accountable, and the partners aren't accountable, and the only person who is accountable is this man-child who is incapable of reading. Is this man-child who finds writing difficult, who legally signed a document saying that he acknowledged that he was HIV positive at a doctor's office, who is legally responsible for this child that he knows does not belong to him. This person who is super trusting and looked at his wrestling team as a family, while they don't fuck with him, like, at all. While they didn't fuck with him when they thought he was straight, when they found out he was gay, and especially not now that he is a criminal. If HIV is a lethal weapon, like the prosecutor exclaimed, why didn't the police come to get him sooner? I mean, I agree. He probably has a weapon of ass destruction, but I don't know if they cared. They didn't care until they did, and it took more than 4 months for them to figure out that they wanted to come get him. And I think that's problematic as well. I think some of this is racist. Boys from the House of Mizrahi, of course. He's also in administrative segregation. That sounds a lot like solitary confinement, because 23 hours a day he's in a cell by himself with no contact with other people, and then 1 hour a day he gets to walk around and be by himself, and then he goes back to his cell for 23 hours. Now, it's been said at the correctional facility that he threatened to bite his lip and spit blood at other inmates, and that's why he's in solitary. But the reality of it is that everything that I'm reading says that he's a really nice boy. That even one of his accusers that he exposed to HIV says, like, he's a good guy. And it doesn't sound like he's gonna spit blood at anyone. Like, it sounds like they made that up because they don't know what the fuck they're doing. They don't know how to deal with this situation. And that's tough. That's super tough for everyone involved. Oh, his trial. The reason that I came up with this hashtag appeal Tiger Mandingo is that his trial is super fucked up. Like I told you, the mom said that the son got a lifetime sentence without parole. I was like, oh, she doesn't know what it means to be in care. But additionally, the prosecuting attorney said that in Johnson, the virus could not have had a more accommodating host because he had sex with young man after young man, and they were promiscuous. And I'm just like, wait. So it's a problem for people to explore their sexuality. That's very sex negative of you. It's a problem for gay men to explore their sexuality, because I know a lot of gay men who've been through a lot of people. I've been through a lot of people. And that's not because I'm a slut or a horrible person. It's because that's what it takes to figure out who you are and what you like. Unfortunately, we conflate sexual identity with having sex. And with male libidos being what they are, people feel like the way to figure out more about who you are sexually is to have sex with men. And that's a problem. When I do my closet case video, we can talk about all that shit. But the reality of it is that the jurors, of the 51 jurors selected, more than half of them believed that being gay was a sin. So the jury was mixed with people who believed that being gay is a sin. So this man wasn't necessarily just on trial for the infection of other people with HIV or whether or not he disclosed. He does claim that he disclosed to all of these people. All these people say that he didn't. That's he says, she said. He say, she say. But I guess that's he say in this situation. Anyway, but if people think that gays are inherently sinful, frequently people think that gays deserve it when they become HIV positive. And for the record, no one deserves to be HIV positive. Johnson does not deserve to be HIV positive. Someone infected him just like he infected someone else, and he made a horrible choice. But I don't think, and I think that Dylan King James also made a horrible choice. But I don't think he deserves it, because no one deserves to be HIV positive. That's a fucked up line of thinking. If you are a Christian who thinks that people deserve HIV, fuck you, fuck off. That's not to say that I'm anti-Christian, because some of my favorite family members are Christian. You don't have to be an asshat to be Christian. It's just that some Christians are asshats, just like some Muslims are asshats, just like some gays are asshats, just like some white people are asshats, just like some Samoan people are asshats, just people are sometimes asshats. But I know that I read a lot of Christian evangelists who think that gays who have HIV are getting exactly what they deserve. No one deserves to have HIV. We're going to leave that on the table, which is basically what this guy said. And then the jurors, if they feel that gay is a sin and they feel like HIV is the proper response to sin from God, then like he was already guilty. Like they deliberated for 2.5 hours. Also, one of the witnesses, his name is Dr. Otham Miles, described HIV as a terminal disease. You can live your whole life with HIV. It shaves no years from your life. Like, that's not even accurate medical science. This kid got railroaded. He made mistakes. I'm not gonna mitigate that. I'm not gonna try to pretend. Oh, also, miscegenation. Of the 6 accusers, 2 of them were black and 4 of them were white. This is a black man who used his Mandingo penis on these pink boy holes and infected 2 of them, attempted to infect 1, exposed 3 others. And that's a crime. That these people said yes. Like, is this Lovings versus Virginia? What the fuck? Like, so now, and I bring this up because historically there have been a lot of situations wherein, in a lot of southern states, rape between a black person and a white person was generally described as a black man having even consensual sex with a white woman. And so miscegenation laws in the South were a real thing, and they were really trying to keep people of color from having sex, black people and white people from having sex, let alone marrying. So miscegenation laws stopped people from being able to get married. But when we define rape as sex between people of 2 different races, that's a whole other thing. And I know that this was a long time ago, but a lot of this shit is still in people's minds. People still believe these things. So we got the miscegenation. We have that I love that the attorney kind of blames the survivors in this because they were promiscuous as well. It's just like, you know, he did a thing that a lot of people did. He has HIV. He should have been in care. He should have disclosed. I don't know if he did. I wasn't there. Didn't fuck him. Wasn't me. But, you know, there's no accountability for anyone else in these arguments. And it makes me crazy. And he got railroaded in his trial, and, you know, it just feels like there's no one on his side. And, like, I don't know, maybe he deserves some time. Maybe he deserves some time. But his situation didn't allow for him to succeed. Like, he's not winning. Like, everyone wanted something from him. They wanted him to win the championships. They wanted him to fuck their asses. They wanted him to be this crown jewel in their athletic department because it's the only department that this school has that does anything well. Everyone wanted something from him. Everyone wanted to use him. And as soon as times got rough, when people didn't like the decisions that they made, or when he became a PR liability, everyone ran and scattered and abandoned him. And I don't think that's right. I don't think that's fair. I don't think it's good. I don't think it's okay. Alright, I am sitting on a soapbox. I'm going to stop now. I'm Andre Laniel. Thank you for tuning in. If you have any ideas, comments, feelings, something to contribute, please do so in the comments below. This is my YouTube where I talk about topics that are hot. I also post my videos in The Original Gay, Black, and Proud on Facebook. You can find me on YouTube and my Twitter, Tumblr. Yeah, all that stuff's going to be in the description bar. But comment if you have any other thoughts on this. I'm open to conversation. As long as you're smart, don't be a dick. Being a dick is fatal because I will shake you. Okay, I love you. Bye-bye.